Welcome to the March edition of the Each One Teach One. The Each One Teach One is a program that harnesses the expertise and the experience of alumni community. We wanted a program that would be able to get the alumni community talking, so they'll be discussing about subject matter that they have insight, passion, knowledge, and experience on. The main aim of this is to create awareness, to foster interactive learning, and also to be able to generate a lot of open discussion either on the platform or outside of the platform. The main goal is to be able to develop our minds and grow, and because we know that each presenter that comes along has something valuable to teach us, and we also have something to learn from them. Today we have Goke Laniyan. Goke is going to be talking about how we can secure our future so that we can have a safe and secure retirement, self planning, and strategic financial position. So before we get Goke to give us all of the gist, we're just going to run through it. Okay, so with over 2 decades of experience as a management consultant, Goke is a seasoned professional with a proven track record of driving business transformation and organizational success across various sectors. A chartered accountant with an Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, Goke holds a BSc in accounting and an MBA from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo Ile-Ife, Nigeria. Further expanding expertise in the digital business space, he completed a postgraduate diploma in digital business from MIT, Columbia Business School, and Emeritus Institute. Additionally, he has pursued executive educational sustainability at the University of Edinburgh Business School, UK, equipping him with the skills to integrate sustainably into modern business strategies. Okay, with strong background in finance, business strategy, and organizational transformation, Goke has demonstrated leadership in different industries, including banking, manufacturing, telecommunications, logistics, consulting, and aviation. He has successfully founded and led ventures in real estate, financial services, and management consultancy with significant achievements in driving innovation, growth, and profitability. As an entrepreneur, he's also the founder and the CEO of LinkedIn, which is an academy Nigeria, and it's an online digital academy dedicated to empowering Nigerians with the knowledge skills to leverage LinkedIn for personal branding and career advancement. Again, having worked across both startups and established organizations, Goke brings a unique blend of strategic insight, operational expertise, and entrepreneurial spirit. Okay, he's also passionate about inspiring changes, so Goke is very committed to sharing knowledge and experiences to empower global audiences to navigate complexities of business leadership in today's dynamic world. Goke also operates in the development sector through NGO, OVL Foundation that assists women, youth, children to live economically productive lives. So that is a lot for our young Goke. It's something time on earth. It's really packed a lot in there. So I mean, just leave it gorgeous. Goke.
Okay, okay, over to you.
Oh, Goke is on mute.
Hear
I'm
me?
asking. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, and you can see my screen.
We can see your screen. You've jumped some
Okay.
slides though.
Yes, I want to move back. So it's move to the bottom. No. Okay,
So
better.
page up, if you use your page up or arrow up slide, arrow
Oh,
up button,
I mean, I don't know. Okay, share.
you
Uh,
should just be able to go arrow up or arrow back.
okay, let me just 1 minute. Okay, yes.
There we go.
Okay, yeah. So it's arrow up. Okay, beautiful.
You might
So
have to
you're all
introduce
welcome to
yourself
today's
because Olumide's introduction was very, very faint. So maybe
but
you should.
is my audio clear?
Perfect.
Because I was struggling to listen to his introduction. So basically, my profile, I have over 2 decades of experience as a management consultant. I'm a seasoned professional with proven track record of driving business transformation and organizational successes across various sectors. Well, my foundation, I'm a chartered accountant. I also hold an MBA from the Obafemi Awolowo University. I'm also into digital business, which I did a postgraduate diploma on, and that triggered my opening the Nigerian LinkedIn Academy. So in addition, I'm also a sustainability expert, which I also had some certification from the Edinburgh Business School in the UK. So with this, I have a very strong foundation in finance and business strategy and organization transformation, which I've demonstrated over the years in diverse industries such as banking, manufacturing, telecoms, logistics, consulting, and aviation. Well, I also do a bit of real estate and financial services and management consulting. And I think I've been able to drive some growth for SMEs. Basically, on LinkedIn, I'm referred to as an SME consultant. So, as an entrepreneur, I founded the LinkedIn Academy, an online digital academy that's dedicated to empowering Nigerians with knowledge and skill to leverage LinkedIn for personal branding and professional advancement. In addition, I'm passionate about inspiring change. I'm committed to sharing knowledge and experience to empower global audience in navigating complexities of businesses and leadership in today's dynamic world. I also operate an NGO, OVL Foundation, that assists women, youth, and children to live economically productive life. So that, in short, is a brief summary of what I do. So to hit the ground running on today's topic, planning for retirement, opportunities and challenges. Most of us in the audience, we are probably in our mid-50s, and we need to start focusing on retiring. And I realized that from the outline we have, the introduction, planning for retirement, conclusion, discussion, and Q&A. So let's go on. So most people are at their peak in their 50s, having worked for 25 years. Well, most of us who have that experience right now, 25 years plus or minus. And time is always a constraint as we plan retirement. The reality is that one day we have to retire because time waits for no man. At this stage of our life, we are taking care of our children, we are also taking care of our young ones, and also our elderly parents because we are 50-year-olds. Then planning is important because God expects us to plan as good stewards of every resource and opportunity that He has entrusted us with. And the focus of today, which is retirement planning, involves addressing fundamental uncertainty that you have. How long will you live and how long will the money and asset you have last? There are no excuses for failures in retirement. So I want us to start with some famous quotes. I'm also a member of the Toastmasters International. So I'd like us to start with some quotes on retirement. The first I'd like to quote is L. Nightingale. We all know him. He says, as in all successful ventures, the foundation of a good retirement is planning. Then Warren Buffett says, retirement planning, the best time to start was yesterday. Dr. Adaobi Nwakuche says, don't rely on the government, your job, or even your family to pay for your retirement. Take initiative and prepare. And also quoting the famous ex-boxer, George Foreman, he said, the question isn't at what age I want to retire, it's at what income. George Foreman died, I think, 2 weeks ago or last week at 76. So also quoting Warren Buffett, he says, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die. And then lastly, Anonymous, he says, when you stop living at work and start work at living, that's retirement. So I want us to look at the journey through life. We came into the world as babies, then we started school, primary school, secondary school. Most of us met here, some met at staff schools, others met at ISL, and then we've been part of each other's life journey. So we look at my early 50s, I can see Dayo Kukwe and Emma Clark. And then I remember the Nigeria connection, the reunion we had in 2017. And the other picture I see Yewande, Obina, and then the other guy, I can't remember his name right now. And also the UK crew and the reunion picture we had. And also the ISL days. We're all looking young in those pictures, but as time passes, we need to ask ourselves some critical question that retirement can be fun if you do the right things at the right time. Are we prepared for retirement, or are we preparing for retirement? How much savings, investment, that which is your egg nest, do you need for you to retire and in retirement? Can your retirement savings investment last the distance in retirement? What is your biggest concern, retirement concern? That's something we need to also ponder on. I would like to throw us the question: how many of us have a retirement plan? So, continuing, there are stages of life from the age of this baby stage before we are 1 year old to roughly age 60. I refer to that as life before retirement. Then we also have life after retirement from age 61 to 90 for those that live so long. So you see, essentially, we have 60 years to do whatever we need to do in life, and then 30 years in retirement before we say bye-bye. So our financial needs and one changes from one season of life to the other, but with good financial planning, one can arrive at a prosperous future. Then we have characteristics of life in retirement. For example, we have reduced activity, there's that freedom of time, and to most people, retirement is a cost. How do you generate income while in retirement? Because the expenses won't stop. You still have to incur expenses even while in retirement. Then how do you build your passive income stream early? Then there are three major benefits of retirement planning. It helps us to maintain a desired lifestyle during our old age. And it also provides us financial security to us and our loved one. And it also covers for unforeseen and unplanned expenses. So I want us to look at this. Most of us in the audience, we are mostly born between 1965 and 81, 1980, and we are referred to as Generation X. So those who are born in 1971, presently they are 54 years old. And we look at it, if retirement age for them is 60 years old, they are roughly, how many years to retirement? 6 years. If it's 65, they are roughly 11 years to retirement. While those who are born in 1973, they're 53 years old, they have 6 years to retirement if they are 60. 7 years to retirement if they are 60. And 11 if they were born in the retirement age for them is 65. Then I want us to also do a referencing by next election, which is in 2 years' time, 2027. Those who are born in 1971, we have roughly 4 years to retirement if they are 60-year-old. While those who are born in 1971, if they are retiring, they plan to retire at 65, they have 9 years. For those who are born in 1972, they have 5 years to retirement. While those who are born in 1972, with retirement age of 65, they have 10 years to retirement. These are things we need to ponder, a referencing that where I am now, how far am I from retiring? And I also want us to ponder on the fact that our current income, we should know that is for saving for retirement as also investing for retirement. It's not only for consumption alone. So then we need to ask ourselves, what are the challenges in retirement? One critical challenge you face is that of dueling earning power, because you are not engaged anymore in active work. So it's very likely that your earning power will drop. For those that don't invest, have savings, or have other plans. And there's also the possibility of rising cost of healthcare, for example, drugs and treatments. As we get older, things that the body gets weaker, one, and also diseases such as arthritis and others begin to show up. Then we also need to also be conscious of one other challenge that the elderly face, which is the exposure to abuses. So these are things we need to be conscious of as we prepare for retiring. So then another thing we also need to look at are the retirement risks you must prepare for, because risk is part of life. Every day we wake up and sleep, there are some risks we have to just be conscious of. One of them is for retirement, or those preparing for retiring, the unexpected health care costs. Medical bills can quickly eat into one's savings. Then another thing we need to be conscious of is that inflation, cost of living crisis, like what is happening presently in Nigeria, may likely erode our purchasing power and also put us as retirees at risk of running out of money. Then another risk, well, some people may not see it as a risk, but it's also a risk, longevity. It's a factor that affects some people. Some families, naturally, they live long, while for others, they don't live long. But this also is affected by health factors and also gender and the wealth and profession you are engaged in. Then another risk we need to consider is market downturns and volatility affecting our savings and investment, which we've prepared for retirement. Then lastly is the lifestyle creep. We tend to our spending may increase at the same rates as our income. We generally spending surge. So then we need to look at the mitigation that we can adopt. For example, we need to get adequate health cover. Secondly, we need to invest in assets that appreciate during inflation. Thirdly, we need to plan for long-term care and set aside flexible withdrawal rates. For example, there's a rule of thumb of 4% and invest in annuity. Next, we need to anticipate and plan for market turn. The market is cyclical, it goes up and down. And like someone said, whether the market is up, is making money. When it's down, is making money. How has he been able to position himself for such opportunities? He's been able to anticipate those market downturns and upswings. So next is financial discipline. As we get older, we should inculcate that habit in us if you don't have it already. And lastly, we need to expand our financial baskets. How large is your financial basket for retiring? So there are certain strategies we need to consider. For example, we need to set aside at least 15% of our salary for retirement. That's the 15% rule. How many of us have that planned already or on running presently? Secondly, we need to review our retirement plan from time to time and also our sources of income. How much comes in from your investment? How much do you have in savings? How much do you have in appreciating assets? How much can you withdraw? Which investment account to draw from? What's your retirement withdrawal strategy? These are critical questions we need to ask ourselves as we prepare for retirement. Then what to do? The following could help 50-year-olds to secure a comfortable retirement, because the game plan of having that financial planning is to have a comfortable life in retiring. One of it is we need to open a pension retirement account. Thank God the Nigerian government has legislated that the employee and employers must make monthly contribution for those who are in paid employment into a pool, which is being managed by the pension company. If you're in paid employment, it is advisable that you increase or maximize your pension contribution and savings prior to retirement. 2, fixed income investments. A lot of us hear about federal government bond, treasury bills. These are things that become so much relevant as we get older because they give us regular, either quarterly income if we've invested in them prior to a retirement. They are secure, they offer low risk options and provide us steady returns. Then next is commercial papers. We need to consider that too as a part of our strategy for our financial planning. We need to consider investment grade commercial papers from reputable companies with good financials and credit ratings. Then thirdly is real estate. Some may depend on the rental income that their real estate investment in the past generates. These are passive income. And then another thing a lot of us need to invest in is land. This can result in capital appreciation over the years. I'll give you an example of Lagos. The cost of land has gone up astronomically because Lagos is running out of land for building. So for those that have invested 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, they are making a kill from investing in land now. Then for those that don't want to take the risk of this investment in real estate, you can put your money to REITs. These are basically investment trusts. If you're not interested in managing your property directly, because there's a lot of work involved in property management. Then the mutual funds and ETFs, so those are other options we can consider. The target is getting a balanced mix of your stock and fixed income security. Then another thing we shouldn't forget is the money market fund, because In retirement, it's a liquidity game. You must be liquid to meet your needs. For good liquidity, you can invest your money in money market funds at moderate returns, while also factoring your risk appetite. Then for number 5, we have what we call dividend stock and blue chip companies. When you invest in stable and high dividend paying stocks, this can provide consistent income in retirement. I'll give you an example. Last year, some of the blue chips company in the economy suffered losses, while the banking sector had some gains. For those that invested in IPOs that were issued last year, they are making a kill with the high dividend being paid. That can also mitigate the effect of inflation and cost of living crisis. So we need to look at the stocks listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange and also on global markets via ETFs. Then we need to consider alternative investments. A lot of us, the Generation X, we are not really digital savvy as such. Well, then the reality is that for the Gen Zs and others, they are into more of digital business. So we need to look at finding ways to invest online in businesses that generate passive income. Because whether you are sleeping or awake, these businesses are bringing you income. You are getting daily alerts from them. Then number 7, I'd like to also focus on annuity. This is basically like paying a lump sum to an annuity company and receiving monthly payments for the rest of our life. One thing in retirement is you must have money to spend. You don't want to depend on your children to fund your retirement. So retirement annuity ensures that we have that guaranteed income for life, provided you have access to your pension. Because as a 50-year-old, you have access to your pension. You can collect a lump sum of your amount saved in your pension over the years, and then you put the remaining a lump sum of 25%, and the remaining 75% you can use it to purchase an annuity program, which you can withdraw for 8 to 10 years, depending on what you agree, or for life. Then another thing we shouldn't forget is that we need health and life insurance, essentially for managing our medical expenses in retirement, because we need to plan for that. Then number 8, we need to look at some side businesses and skill monetization. For example, you can start a small business, such as a consulting business, a commission business. For example, as an estate agent, you collect commission on the transactions you're able to drive. Or you can also put your life experience over the years to create a live online course that relates to your expertise and put it on and market it online. So for 9, you say increase and build up your disposable income and investment during your active work years. I know this may be a challenge because there are competing needs for that income. Well, then if you have a plan that, well, during your active work life, as your plan for retiring, you want to start building up your disposable income. Yeah, for those who are planning on retiring in another 10 or 10 or 11 years time, by age 65, if they start now, by that age 65, assuming they have 1 million or 2 million in retirement, their retirement buckets, with good strategy and planning, they can also maximize the returns on that prior to retiring. Then also, for those who are planning retirement, I'll advise that they pay off all outstanding debts. It's not fun carrying your mortgage or loan or any debts prior to retirement because they involve repayments from cash, which you may not have. So we need to strategize in such a way that we're able to pay off our debts before we go into retiring. Then next, we need to start consolidating your assets, asset documentation and others. A lot of us have assets scattered all over the place. But by the time you're moving towards retirement, it's better you start consolidating these assets so that they are easier for you to manage, or you set up a trust to also do that. Then we need to look at estate planning of our assets and also the tax implication of the assets you have. Then number 13, we need to plan to write a will. I don't know how many of us in the audience have a will. I don't have a will presently, but it's something we need to look into as we prepare for retirement. Then 14, we need to diversify our investment while maintaining a balanced portfolio. The whole essence of having a balanced portfolio so that your investment is not impacted negatively if it's concentrated in just one portfolio. And you also need to keep an eye on the risk tolerance for investment and the risk your investment are facing. For example, Nigeria of today, we are passing through devaluation, inflation, lifetime crisis. All these affects our investment one way or the other. So if you don't keep an eye on them, we're likely to have challenges in the future. They're not forgetting to also leverage on the power of compounding. The earlier we start planning for retirement, the earlier we are able to leverage on that power of compounding our investment for retirement. Someone that saved 1 million naira 10 years ago and someone that is saving 1 million naira today, they are definitely not going to have the same reward. So, like I said, investing and the power of compounding rewards early and consistent savers and investors. So another thing we need to consider as we move towards retirement is your living expense. A lot of us have big house, mansions, that in retirement, the children, they all relocate, some get married, and then you are just left with yourself and madam. So you need to consider it. Do you need to downsize, get a smaller apartment that you can manage conveniently? I'll give you an example. What I advise some of my clients in the real estate sector is that when you have a big apartment, it's something you should start planning. There's what we call return on that investment. Whether you like it or not, if it's not generating an income for you as an individual, it's actually a liability. So you need to start looking at it that do you want to continue maintaining a liability in retirement, or you want to look at other options. Then another thing is to getting adequate healthcare. It's been recurring. Healthcare cover and insurance is something we'll need definitely one day in retirement. So it's better we get it early. Also, we need to maintain good mental health. For us to live well in retirement, we must have very excellent mental health. Next, we need to engage in post-retirement jobs to keep us busy while with little pressure. Jobs that won't require so much exertion of our physical energy. And then last 20, we need to socialize with friends and family and have a strong network in the community. So what do you need for retirement? Number one, you need liquidity and cash flow. Cash to buy basic things, regular interests. What I've done here is that we're looking at your assets that you have them invested in treasury bills, FG bonds, dividend payout stock, and annuity. That ratio is something we can always look at what works for you. But basically for bucket one are things we can quickly convert to cash because like I said, liquidity and cash flow is important. Some of these things we have in the bucket from bucket one may move to bucket two over time. Because in retirement, salary stops at retirement, no more alerts. How do you intend to cover for the gap and meet your commitments? Living without cash is a very big problem. It's a very big problem if you have to live without cash. I'm repeating it again, healthcare cover is important. Then the asset that you have over the years that can cover you for retirement, you need to start looking at them. It's not just cash alone. Some of them, those assets, you need them in the first 3 years. Some you don't need till another 3 to 5 years, maybe another 10 years. So these are things you need to have a thorough planning for. Here we're looking at, okay. So we're looking at income replacement. Basically, it's a percentage of your pre-retirement income before tax that you need to support your lifestyle in retirement for planning purposes. Basically, you need 75% of your current income to be in good standing for retirement. Okay, how much will you need for retirement? There are retirement planning tools for money management, budgeting, investing, and planning. I want us to look at this example that I have on the screen. Here we say you have an expected net worth at retirement of 75 million. This is your pension, your savings, your investment, and your income. And then you've estimated roughly that your annual expense is 2.8. That means from your retirement money savings, you can withdraw using the 4% rule, 3 million, at least at the initial stage. And as you are withdrawing, you also need to also find ways to increase those investments so that it can cover you from the long spread. So we're looking at, assuming you want to allocate that 75 million that you have in at retirement, you can look at treasury bills. That gives you quick cash and also quarterly payments. Monthly payments. Then you also look at federal government bonds. Then look at dividend paying stock and then the annuity. Then you need cash too, because like we all know cash is king. So this mix is just an example. You can look at it and see what works for you or likely to work for you in retirement. So we look at opportunities in retirement. For us in the audience, I don't know what opportunities we are considering, but it's something we need to ponder about. So what opportunities are you considering while you are in retirement? And we have your discussion and case study. Okay, for the case study, I'd like to give you an example of an uncle of mine. While he was in his early 50s, at current age, he ran a business, ran it at a loss. So while in retirement, but he gained his experience. while he was in his early, when he now retired, because he had already gained that experience while he was still working, he knew where his gaps were and was able to correct it. So when he retired, that was what he did. That was the line of business, I mean, the kind of work he was doing in the corporate world. So in retirement, he was able to set up that same line of business, and he was able to pull a lot of successes because he had been able to compound his experience over the years. And while I was speaking, discussing with him, one thing the brother was shocked me, said, okay, I'm presently 70 years. What am I? How many years do I have to live? So what I just have to do, the children are married, all of them have left home. It's just me and myself to take care of. So what I'm just planning is that all this asset I have, I'll sell this one this year. Next year, I'll sell this to run my cost of living. But unfortunately for him, he's a cancer survivor. So he's also managing cancer at over 70 years. So those are things that we need to also be conscious of. So as the retirement years move closer, we need to consider all our options and look at how we can strengthen our plans and mitigate our risk. So before we go to Q&A, I want to also go to conclusion. Life on the fifth floor presents a unique opportunity, leveraging the experience that we've acquired in the last 49 years of our life as guides to plan for subsequent years prior to retirement. We need to make smart decisions today in order to reduce tomorrow's stress. Retirement planning is essential for the next 50 years, that for those that want to live till 100 or more, to ensure an enjoyable life in retirement. Life in retirement comes down to having the necessary cash flow to finance your desired lifestyle in retirement. And this requires planning, taking advantage of opportunities, and anticipating challenges. Plan your retirement early and continue doing so into your retirement years. So once again, we look at the codes. Don't rely on government, your job, or even your family to pay for your retirement. Take initiative and prepare. The question isn't at what age I want to retire. It is at what income, Judge Foreman. And when you stop living at work, you start working at living, retirement. And thank you for this opportunity. Hello.
Hi, Goke. That was a great presentation.
Okay. So do we have questions from the house and then probably discussion? Thank you, Odeji, for that.
I have a technical question.
Okay.
So a lot of us look at holding money in foreign currency as not active. But when we look at the history of the performance of the Naira, we can see that it has been losing about 22% against the dollar for the past 20 to 25 years.
Okay.
So in essence, if you have an amount in Naira and you convert it and keep it in dollars, while it may appear unpatriotic and passive, you are actually doing 20% without doing anything. I would like to know your thoughts on this, Goke.
Okay. One thing about the Naira devaluation, if you know the story behind the Naira rates, over the years, the Naira value exchange rate has been propped up. But Nigerians discovered that since it became a depreciating currency, they decided to move part of their savings into dollars. You find out that in the Nigerian banking system, we have close to between 16 or 20 million USD in our DOM account. So people are already preparing to hedge against those depreciation in the Naira. And part of what has resulted in that is the fact that you lose when you keep a depreciating currency, because that means you have to work more. And I could remember when there was devaluation of the Nigerian currency when the current administration came in, we discovered that the things in Nigeria became cheap because the Naira has lost value. And what I normally advise people that are bringing money from abroad is don't bring money in if you know you don't want it to stay in Nigeria, because you bring it in at 1 to 50 and you want to move it out is already 1 to 100 or 200. And even for some of these Chinese guys now, they don't bring in, they rather get investment here to hedge against such eventualities. But the reality is that it's a problem we have to deal with as Nigerians. Do you want to hold your money in dollars while you spend in Naira? Or do you want to keep it in dollars to prevent against depreciation and cost of living crisis? So it's a balancing game we need to look at. But I would rather prefer we keep it in an appreciating asset. For example, commodities, the cost of commodities is internationally denominated, and keeping it in those assets that appreciate over time is your own advantage. Because also the dollar is something the Americans play around. When oil price is high, dollar is low. When dollar is high, oil price is low. So they are also using that to balance things. But then one thing that is going to happen in future is that there's what they call the dismediation or something of the dollar. And it's happening gradually. Very soon, the digital assets are coming up, digital currencies coming up. America that didn't believe in investing in crypto, Trump came on board and they're also thinking about crypto. So those are things we need to look at. Yes, it's good to hold your money in USD because it's a stable currency. But then the reality is that things may change over time. I hope that meets your expectations.
Thank you, Goke. I like it. So in summary, a non-depreciating asset is maybe stronger than a depreciating asset, but an actually appreciating investment might be stronger still.
Exactly. I'll give you a case. Those that put their money in dorm account are actually losing over time because it's not generating anything to the economy or even to the individual. So Nigeria has 16 to 25 million in dorm account that is inactive in the economy. It's just savings.
All right. Can I ask the question, Goke?
Okay.
Just in a follow-up to this question. First of all, thank you for the presentation. It was actually quite enlightening, especially for people like us who are not residing in Nigeria. In your own advice, for people who are trying to invest in or who are trying to retire back home in Nigeria, all right, and you're trying to repatriate whatever savings that you have abroad, but you do not want to repatriate it and keep it in a savings account, just like you advised. I heard that you mentioned some instruments that are quite significantly advantageous for such a move. You did say something like real estate, because I know real estate is really doing very well in Nigeria now, but from what I gather, the market is quite saturated. Everybody is in it. And anything that everybody is getting involved in, very soon it will just tank. You don't want to invest in real estate and then all your flats are empty because the market is saturated. Everybody's building their own houses. I'm just saying that for example. What would you advise for an individual who's trying to repatriate his foreign savings to Nigeria but wants to park it in an instrument that will obviously benefit his retirement going forward? That's my question.
Okay. Thank you, Wale. Was it last year, the government of Nigeria did something they've not done before, which was to issue dollar-denominated bonds. And I think it's about a rate of 9 or 10%, which is far more than what is being paid on bonds abroad. It's an attractive investment for someone that wants to repatriate his funds. You can invest in Nigerian-denominated dollar bonds, because the bonds are in the UK, and the US, Europe, and Americans. They don't pay that high. So, but because Nigeria is a high risk environment, we issue those bonds with at a premium. So that's one option for those who want to repatriate their funds. Because the whole essence of it is that the government has discovered that it's not every Nigerian living abroad that is engaged in dollar remittance, except they have something to do maybe with locally. So, but investing in such bonds will preserve your capital, one, and also generate some good, reasonable interest for you. And then for the real estate thing, it's not saturated as you perceive that because everybody's into it. The reality is that land in Nigeria is fixed. ED knows what the price of land is on the island now, is in the billions. So when you say it's saturated, the opportunities are still there because people must live in houses.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
The thing is, what kind of guarantees do those government instruments have? Because from our experience, and we're old enough to see some of the things that are happening, maybe this new government is going in a different direction that's becoming a little bit more, um, it has positive, uh, uh, um, I'm trying to look for the word, positive,
They are not disposed to
people are
such a strategy.
trust government basically in one way or the other, especially in this day and age of everybody, what is a global village now? What kind of guarantee do those instruments offer? So much so that if for any reason at all there's a change of government, those instruments are still valid. They do not change with some government behavior, more give or take. Yes, we know that the reputation of the Nigerian government, especially in the economics, is getting noticed and valued. At least from this my side here, I know that people are beginning to respect Nigeria for their global the path that they're taking. People like say Dangote and all those other people are doing in the industry. What kind of guarantee does those government instruments have? So much so that people do not start to regret that maybe they shouldn't have taken such steps. And maybe some of those guarantees that I'm talking about will include some sort of insurance protection for those kinds of instruments that you already have. So much so that no government or no unnecessary behavioral situation of the politicians or the politics will change the value of those instruments. Because those are some of the, uh, uh, how do you say, some of those, um, I'm looking for the word. Sorry that I'm wasting your time. But I just need to understand that people need to have some sort of confidence. That's the word. The kind of confidence that will give you that lever to want to move your savings to Nigeria because basically, Ajodabile, some of us will want to move back home and retire at home. But we are so afraid of the politics and of the government behavior, for the corruption, so much so that the instruments in which you want to put your value in, you're afraid to do it. You see, that's my question.
Okay, for your question, I'd like to first of all make a statement. You look at Dangote, despite the uncertainty in the Nigerian economy, he's going bigger. That's one. Then two, for the dollar bond that you are a bit hesitant about, is issued by the federal government, one, and is guaranteed by the full faith and credit of the Nigerian government, meaning that the principal and the interest payment are backed by the government's financial resources. So the only thing that can happen, it becomes reputational if there's a default in the government being able to pay the principal and interest on the dollar bond. So any government will also always guard against that. It sends a wrong signal into the foreign space. You understand what I'm saying? So the likelihood of defaults is very minimal because it has implication on the government and also for the country. So even if another and we look at it nowadays, the world is more pro-democracy. So any government that comes in won't want to go back to the Abacha era where we're like a Faria country. So the bonds, there are things they think through before we put in the market. And like I said, it's an innovation because we realize that that's the only way we can capture value in the markets. You understand what I mean? So to me, I think it's still a low risk presently. And I don't see a situation whereby we have a change in government, and they come and say, no, we're not recognizing all this prior exposure to the euro bond, the dollar bond we've issued, because we've been using that to finance our economy. And you know the way the economy works, we borrow, we spend, we borrow, we spend. Until that model changes, we'll still keep issuing those bonds. And there are also rating agencies that also monitor the performance of the economy and use that to rate those bonds prior to and during the issuance. Hello, Wally.
Yeah, thank you, Goki. I hear you. I'll just do a bit more research on those points that you raised
Yeah, you
because
can do more research to get a bit of more clarity on it. But I think it's a good one
clarity on it.
because it's the return is far above what is paid in Europe or the America. You know, most of it is where we need money, and we're also a high risk environment, so it comes at a premium.
True. How does one access these things? Do you go to your bank? Do you speak to your banker? Do you get a broker? How do you
Yeah,
access this?
you can if you have you can go through your bank. You can also go through your broker. You know, some of them are what we call wholesale investors. They buy these things. But for the dollar bond, you need to pay through an account, a DOM account. So they must be your flow must be from your DOM account to the government dollar account. But if you are now buying from the bank or the stockbroking company, it's a different arrangement. But if you speak to them, they'll put you through how to go about it.
Yeah, but what's the difference between that? If it's a
You know,
different arrangement.
it's just like I was talking about the IPO, the share sale that was made by the banks last year when they were buying, trying to raise up their capital base. You know, we're buying directly from the banks. So, but once it enters the market, it becomes like a secondary market purchase. You understand what I mean? You
Mm.
have the primary market for bonds, then you have the secondary market for bonds.
So if it's secondary, that means you're talking to a broker.
No, you are for the secondary, you are talking to a broker. For the primary, you are buying at the point of issuance.
You never get those things, man. It's just shared among themselves.
And what
They will
the
send.
last one that took place, they were insisting that for you to make purchases, it must come through your DOM account in Nigeria. So you
Yeah,
can, if you are interested, you can just call them, speak to them that you are interested in this. I'll give you this or your state guy, this Makinde. He made quite a lot of money investing in all those Eurobond even before they became popular among Nigerians. And a lot of HNIs invest in those things
that's what
because
I'm saying. That these guys they share it among themselves before they even let the average individual get a hand on it. That's the thing.
Eh,
You want to
but
go through the right channels, you never get. You just have to get a broker who's going to charge you at a premium. But those are the points I'm making. That, and
okay.
I know basically that's just the way we are. If you want to do business in Nigeria, sometimes the street path there might not be a road on the straight path. So you have to go through. If
Mm,
somebody like a governor like Makinde already has access to those things before his own constituent or his own citizens can have
eh,
access. I mean, imagine what somebody who is coming from abroad what kind of access the person will have. Those are just my points. That
mm,
yes, we're interested in doing this thing, but maybe Nigeria is not rife enough. Look, even if it's not right enough, some people are still making it. So we just have to stick our head in it and see what we can do.
that's it. That's the spirit. That's the spirit. And
Just
then
to
it's also a
support
function of what you know
Goke
about
on
those
the,
investments.
Mm.
I was just going to
No, thanks.
support you, Goke, on this dollar bond. I think they tried to do it fairly this time, and I think they even said that there was not going to be any secondary market for
Mm,
those dollar bonds. And they also said that the money had to have been sitting in your DOM account for 30 days at least.
exactly.
So if they come up with a new one, it would be worth investigating, I think.
Yes, I agree with you, Richard.
Where can, where can one go to have access without having to? I mean, is there a website where you can access and do some research where you wouldn't have
Um,
to?
yeah, you can do this FMDQ. They have a trading platform. Then Stanbic IBTC, stockbrokers also does that. So you can those are credible wholesale investors that you can reach out to.
Did you say FMB or what?
FMDQ. FMDQ.
FM,
Yes,
FMBQ.
yes.
I
They
see.
have a trading platform for that. Then Stanbic is also reputable for that too.
Okay, we have Stanbic this side. We can talk to Stanbic.
Mm.
All right, thanks, Koke.
Okay, you're welcome.
I don't have any more questions. I don't know if anybody else has got.
Any other questions? Okay. In the absence of any other question, I thank you all for this opportunity, and I hand over to the presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Goke. That was really educational, short and sharp, but very powerful. Packed. Olumide, do we want to wind up? All right, I don't see Olumide there. So on his behalf, I will wind up. Thank you very much, Goke. I think it was a very good talk, very insightful. And thank you for reminding us of all the things that we need to do to have a financially successful, not just financially successful retirement, but also some of the personal and social side of things. We appreciate you, and we're looking forward to more talks from you in the future.
Okay, thank you, DG.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and see you in the next session.
Thank you very much, Goke. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Benga.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Good
Thank
night,
you,
everybody.
Goke.
That's okay.
Okay.
See you, everybody.